This Pitbull blocked the door during a fire. The reason will make you cry. The heat was a physical entity, heavy and suffocating, pressing against Sergeant Miller's chest with the force of a giant, invisible hand. The air tasted of ashes and melted plastic, a pungent taste that coated his throat and made his eyes water instantly. But it wasn't the fire, roaring like a hungry dragon devouring the wooden structure of the Victorian house, that made the veteran policeman's heart pound erratically against his ribs. That was what stood in the front doorway, growling through the thick, orange smoke. Miller tightened his grip on his pistol. The metal felt slippery in his sweaty palm. 5 meters away, blocking the only accessible entrance to the burning residence, was a monster. Or at least, that's what the situation suggested. A massive pit bull, dark-furred, with muscles taut beneath its skin like steel cables about to snap. The animal didn't bark. It emitted a guttural, low, continuous sound, a vibration Miller could feel in his bones more than hear with his ears. The dog's teeth were exposed, white and lethal against its dark gums, and foam dripped from the corners of its mouth, falling onto the porch floor, which was already beginning to smoke from the heat rising from below. "Get away," Miller shouted, his voice almost drowned out by the violent crack of the beams breaking inside. "Come on, kid, get out of the way." The dog didn't back down. On the contrary, it took a step forward, its claws scratching the wood, its bloodshot eyes fixed on the policeman's. There was a madness in those eyes, Miller thought. A maniacal determination. Behind Miller, chaos reigned on the suburban street. The red and blue lights of vehicles spun frantically, painting the neighboring houses with emergency colors. Neighbors screamed, hoses were unrolled by the firefighters who had just arrived, but the voice that cut through the night was that of a hysterical woman being restrained by a paramedic near the ambulance. "He's gone mad!" she screamed, pointing at the house. "Titan's gone mad with the fire! He won't let anyone in! Get out of there, he'll kill you!" Miller glanced back. The woman's husband, his face covered in soot, nodded in confirmation, coughing violently. "The house is empty!" the man yelled, his voice hoarse. "We went out. We thought he'd follow us, but he froze at the door. He'll attack anyone who comes near. Shoot the dog if you have to, just don't let the fire spread to the neighbors." The unspoken order hung in the hot, toxic air. "Kill the dog!" Miller looked back at the beast on the porch. The fire behind the animal created a demonic silhouette. Flames licked the doorframe, and the heat intensified dramatically. If the firefighters didn't start working on that entrance within the next 30 seconds, the entire structure would collapse. And that dog was the only obstacle. "Sergeant!" shouted the fire chief, approaching with an axe in his hand, but keeping his distance from the animal. "We have to break down that door and get in with the hoses now. That beast isn't getting out. You have to neutralize it. Now!" Miller hated it. In 20 years with the department, he'd seen it all. But shooting an animal that was probably just confused and terrified by the fire made his stomach churn. But the logic was cold and undeniable. The safety of the team and containing the fire were worth more than the life of an aggressive dog. He raised the weapon, aligning the sights with the animal's broad head. His index finger brushed the trigger. "Sorry, buddy," Miller whispered, feeling sweat trickle down his temple. The dog, Titan, stopped growling for a millisecond. He didn't look at the gun. He looked into Miller's eyes, and in that instant, amidst the crackling inferno, time seemed to slow down. Miller didn't just see aggression, he saw desperation. The dog wasn't in an attack stance, its body leaning forward ready to pounce. Its body was lowered, its hind legs firmly planted, as if it were a barrier. It wasn't trying to stop them from entering, it was protecting what was behind it. But what could it be? The owners said the house was empty. "Sergeant, shoot!" the firefighter shouted urgently. An upstairs window shattered, scattering glass and sparks across the lawn. Miller took a deep breath, swallowing the smoke. His instinct screamed louder than protocol. He lowered his weapon a few inches. "Bring the shield!" Miller yelled, his voice surprising even himself. "Bring the damned containment shield and the capture rod, now!" "Are you crazy?" retorted the firefighter. "We don't have time." "I'm not going to shoot him. Bring the shield." Miller stepped forward, defying both the fire and the animal. The dog growled louder, a terrible sound, and snapped at the air, the clicking of its jaws audible even over the noise of the fire. 2 policemen rushed over, carrying a heavy ballistic shield. Miller stepped forward, holding the shield with his left arm while keeping his gun in his right hand, just in case. "Let's push him," Miller ordered. "Wedge formation. Follow me." They climbed the steps to the porch. The heat was unbearable now. Miller's eyebrows looked like they were burning. Titan, the Pitbull, didn't back down. He lunged at the shield with blind fury, slamming against the polycarbonate with a dull thud. Miller grunted at the impact, but planted his feet firmly. "Push!" he shouted. The dog tried to bite the edges of the shield, its claws scratching the plastic, but it didn't try to run outside. It desperately tried to hold its position on the doorstep. It was suicidal behavior. Why didn't it run away? Any animal's survival instinct should make it run to the safety of the lawn. With a combined effort, Miller and another officer managed to push the animal into the entrance hall, pinning it against the side wall that was not yet on fire. The firefighter with the catch pole managed to lasso the dog's neck. Titan struggled violently, howling, a sound that was not of anger, but of pure anguish. "We've got him! Come in, come in!" Miller shouted, holding his shield against the animal's contorted body. The firefighters surged forward with the hose, spraying water onto the flames that devoured the staircase. White smoke rose, momentarily blinding everyone. That's when Miller heard. Amidst the noise of water crashing against burnt wood and the howls of the trapped dog, there was a different sound, high-pitched, weak, rhythmic. It wasn't coming from upstairs, it was coming from behind where the dog was originally standing. Miller looked at the spot Titan was defending with his life. It was a living room, now partially consumed by fire, but in the center, away from the direct flames, was a heavy, old, solid oak dining table. The tablecloth had been pulled down, creating a sort of makeshift hut. The dog, even though tied by the stick and pressed against the wall, stopped fighting the men and began pulling towards the table, whimpering desperately. Miller felt a chill run down his spine that had nothing to do with the outside temperature. He dropped the shield. "Stop the water in this area!" he ordered, rushing towards the table, ignoring the smoke that filled his lungs. He knelt on the hot floor, coughing, and lifted the charred tablecloth. The world stopped. Down below, protected from the rising heat and the denser smoke accumulating on the ceiling, was a baby carrier turned on its side. And inside it, wrapped in blankets that smelled of smoke but intact, was a newborn. The baby coughed weakly, its face red from crying that no one outside could hear. Miller's heart skipped a beat. He understood everything in a terrifying second. In the confusion of the escape, in the blind panic of the fire, the parents must have thought the other dog had taken the baby. A tragic, human, and terrible mistake. But the dog hadn't made a mistake. Titan wasn't attacking the police officers. He wasn't crazy. He was doing the only thing he knew how to do, create a barrier between the dangerous world and the most vulnerable member of his pack. He knew that if he let anyone in, they might step on the baby in the smoke. Or maybe he simply didn't trust anyone but himself with that sacred task. "Oh my God," whispered the firefighter who was right behind Miller, seeing the small package move. Miller picked up the baby carrier with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with the violence of the previous minutes. He shielded the child's face with his own jacket and turned to leave. "Let go of the dog!" Miller shouted. "Let him go now! We're all going out together!" The officer holding the catch pole hesitated for a second, but upon seeing the baby in the sergeant's arms, released the mechanism. Titan didn't attack. He didn't run. He immediately rushed to Miller's side, pressing his charred body against the policeman's leg, staring intently at the baby, checking to make sure everything was all right. The group emerged from the burning house like a surreal procession. Miller led the way, carrying the precious life, followed closely by the lame and burned Pitbull and the firefighters providing cover. When they broke through the cloud of smoke and stepped onto the cool night grass, silence fell over the crowd of neighbors. The child's mother, who had been sitting on the ambulance's bumper crying, lifted her head. Her eyes widened, shifting from terror to utter disbelief when she saw what Miller was carrying. "Lucas!" she whispered, and then screamed, a visceral sound that tore through the night. "Lucas!" She ran, breaking through the police blockade. The father came right behind her, his legs trembling. Miller handed the child to the paramedics. who immediately placed a small oxygen mask on the baby, confirming that, despite inhaling smoke, he was alive and crying loudly. Only then did Miller look down. Titan had collapsed onto the grass. The adrenaline had worn off. The fur on his back was burned, his skin raw in several places where the embers had fallen. He was breathing heavily, his tongue hanging out, his eyes closing. The police officers who minutes before had been ready to shoot him now formed a circle of silent respect. A paramedic approached, not to attend to humans, but to kneel beside the dog. He placed an oxygen mask on the animal's broad snout and began pouring cold water over the burns. The baby's mother, after seeing that her son was being attended to, turned around. She saw the dog lying there. She fell to her knees on the grass, ignoring the soot and dirt, and hugged the animal's thick, burned neck. "Forgive me, Titan. Forgive me." She sobbed, her tears washing the soot from the dog's face. "I thought you'd gone crazy. You saved him. You saved him." The dog, with what little strength it had left, slightly raised its head and licked the woman's hand. Its tail thumped weakly, but rhythmically, against the grass. Thump, thump, thump. Miller sat on the curb, removing his helmet and running a hand through his sweaty hair. He looked at his gun in its holster and felt a chill at the thought of what he had almost done. He had almost killed the hero of the night. He had almost extinguished that pure and innocent loyalty that no human being could ever replicate with such perfection. While the ambulance carried the baby away and another special vehicle was being prepared to take Titan to the veterinary hospital with sirens blaring, Miller noticed his hands trembling, not from fear, but from relief. That night, amidst the flames and chaos, humanity hadn't come from a person. It had come from a four-legged beast he'd rather burn than abandon his post. The house behind them collapsed with a final crash, flames soaring high into the night sky. But no one was looking at the fire. Everyone was looking at the dog being carried on the stretcher, the true guardian of that family, who proved that loyalty is not just a word, it's an instinct that survives even hell itself.